Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Waiting to rise again.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the moment you've all been waiting for.
Locking down the middle of the day. Live from downtown Baton Rouge. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from our studio downtown in the capital city on this Football Friday. Means we're brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp. Jacob Bess, Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos. Fired up, you're here with us. Hope that work week is in the rearview mirror. If it is not, we'll get you to the finish line here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Preston Guy with us in 15 minutes. He's from TigerBait.com. Break down LSU and Louisiana Tech. May look a little bit back at Clemson as well. We got an NFL football weekend to get you ready for at 1:30. Saints and Cardinals. We'll preview it and give you our pick at the end of the show. I got to pick SEC games against the spread. We'll do that at 2 o'clock. I've got some keys for LSU as well as take it or leave it. Lots and lots and lots to do. But listen up to this. We're going to start with our Genesis opening drive in a second. We'll get to that. But we're going to start off the show real hot, okay? So keep this in mind. If you are listening in Little Rock, Arkansas, or the Panhandle of Florida, I appreciate you very, very much. You probably don't need to pick up the phone and make a phone call unless you're driving here really, really quickly. If you are in Baton Rouge and you would like a case of cold Yingling Flight, we have 3 of them. I need you to call and pick it up. We got 3 24-packs, tailgating tomorrow, perfect timing, 225-499-1045. First 3 callers, Beck's going to answer, get your name and information. We'll have a case of beer, but you have to pick it up today by 4:30. You have 3.5 hours to get your beer. 499-1045 is the phone number. Give Jacob Beck a phone call. He's right there. He'll pick it up. He'll get your name and phone number, and we will get you taken care of. We're downtown in Baton Rouge. So if that doesn't work for you in the next 3.5 hours, do us a favor and don't call. But Yingling Flight wants to give you some cold beer, so Beck's going to take care of you right now. We got the phone lines already lit up, so give us a phone call. We will get you taken care of. These are my favorite shows of the year to do. I do shows in Omaha, Nebraska that I love doing. I love LSU basketball as well. We do some things on location. There are probably weekends more impactful than LSU and Louisiana Tech on the gridiron. But these Friday shows are just fun. There's a routine to them. We do the same thing every single Friday in terms of the NFL slate and the SEC against the spread and our picks at the end. And the vibes are just good. I'm fired up to be here. I know that the last 4 years we have done these shows after a loss. Well, there's a win. And there's a coronation and a welcome party that's going to go on here inside Tiger Stadium coming up on Saturday. And I'm really, really fired up to get things rolling over the course of the next 2 hours. It's a special weekend for the Palmer family as well. My parents are in town, and my dad's going to take the Myers man to his first LSU game coming up tomorrow, which is a big deal for our family. Unfortunately, I got to go work, so I can't be there for all of it. I can be there for some. He'll see me pregame, and I'll be able to sneak over there for a little bit of the game action. But I'm just fired up that the Myers man is going to get to go in there. He's beside himself with excitement. So it's going to be a big weekend for the Palmer family. LSU and Louisiana Tech tomorrow at 6:30. Before we get things started officially for today and get into the real content of the show, I want to remind you about our broadcast schedule tomorrow. It's the same as it was last week for a 6:30 kickoff. This actually kickoff is pretty close to 6:30. Remember last week we were telling you, wait, it's 6:52. This one's closer to 6:30, just a few minutes after 6:30 tomorrow between LSU and Louisiana Tech. Eagle 98.1 Game Day fires up from Rouse's on Burbank. You can catch that show at 1:30. Matt Musso and Charles Handiger for 3 hours from Rouse's. They'll hand it off to the LSU Sports Radio Network. That is me, Brandon Taylor, Marlon Favorite. We'll be in the Tiger One Village right there between the ramps to the Assembly Center from 4:30 to about 6 o'clock. Toss it inside to the broadcast team 30 minutes after it goes final. Me, Brandon, and Marlon back on the network post-game show. And then 90 minutes after the game goes final, Charles Handiger and Richard Dixon from right here in the studio. They'll have your Eagle 98.1 post-game show. So 1:30 start tomorrow on Eagle 98.1 all the way until probably 1:30 or so in the morning, maybe after that for your LSU and Tech content. Let's get it at LSU and Tech. It's our Genesis opening drive.
It's time for Hunt's Opening Drive, presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge.
All right, Look, not a lot of intrigue in the matchup this week, right? And I'm not trying to break that game down significantly. LSU is a very, very talented team. It's in the top 5. Louisiana Tech has been on hard times in the Sonny Cumbie era, and last week wasn't very inspiring as they beat Southeastern 24-0. I'll talk a little bit about Tech as we move forward, but I want to really focus on LSU because that's the most important thing in this game. Y'all have heard me now for 3-4 years talk about press conferences, talk about quotes and player interviews, and devalue a significant amount that we hear from coaches and athletes across the sports that we cover. And I stand by that, generally speaking. It's not a hard and fast rule. It's just something that I've learned over the course of going to a lot of press conferences and conducting a lot of interviews. A lot of players and coaches get onto the cliches, and they don't generally say a lot. Doesn't mean it never happens, but it doesn't happen a lot. But I have, to that point, heard a lot of teams talk, heard a lot of players talk. I've covered terrible teams. I've covered championship teams. And this is early, and it may be prisoner of the moment type stuff. I am fully admitting that to you right now. I'm not preaching this as gospel. I'm making an observation that I think is worthwhile of bringing forward. I really, really, really like the way this team thinks and talks. It's early. They've played 4 quarters of football. We got 3 months of this to go. But what we know is that this is a very old team. There were 2 guys in the starting lineup of the top 22 last weekend that are second or first year players. You had Caden Durham, and you had basically McKinley, Bro, whoever was in there at a given time. But essentially, you had old guys. Woodland started. I think the starting tackles were maybe Guillory and Gooden, who didn't qualify as first and second year players. Trades Green scored a touchdown, played a lot. He's a second year player, but Bauer Sharp started. It's old guys. Nussmeier's old. Braylon Moore's old. On the offensive front, Tyree Adams, year 3. Josh Thompson, year 4. You're looking at guys that are old. Braylon Moore's old. Chris Hilton, Aaron Anderson, old. Jack Pyburn, Weeks Brothers, Gooden, Guillory, Mansour Delane, A.J. Halsey, Jordan Gilbert, Harold Perkins. Old. And these guys, to me, the way that I watch them play and the way that you hear them talk and then the way that the coaches talk about them, there seems to be unity in the way that they talk. They all talk about 1-0. They talk about a nameless, faceless opponent. They talk about the process. I wrote a column on LouisianaSports.net this morning that laid out all the quotes that we heard from West Weeks and Mansour Delane. I asked Mansour Delane, is it going to be tough to kind of get up for the next week? And he was like, not at all, because that game's over, and we got much bigger goals than beating Clemson. They're locked in. And I like the way that sounds. It sounds a lot like the 2023 baseball team to me. And I heard those guys talk for 4 months, and they were immensely talented. And they had a cheat code at the front of the rotation who's going to win the Cy Young this year. But LSU's got a really good quarterback, and that defense looked awesome. And we know the playmakers that are on offense. And I'm not going to sit here on the Friday before they played Louisiana freaking Tech and tell you they're going to win the national championship. I'm aware that there is a recency bias here and there's a bit of a prisoner of the moment thing here, but I'm just telling you what I like watching this team and listening to this team talk. And we talked to Wes Weeks on Wednesday about last year's Nicholls game. And he said, yep, didn't have any edge. Did not have the edge. And he admitted that. I said, well, what do you think about this year, this week? It's different because y'all won last week, but USC to Nicholls, Clemson to Louisiana Tech, there are parallels there. And he said, completely different. I thought Tuesday and Wednesday were our best 2 practices of the year. That's what Wes Weeks told us. And you hear Brian Kelly talk, and he talks about having a veteran team. And he talks about how these guys are accountable and how he's got a great leadership group. And they were focused in the portal and pulling in guys that they thought could add leadership with their talent. Leadership without talent is good. It doesn't win championships. You got to have both. And right now, it feels like LSU has both. They got a long way to go. They got a lot of good teams on the schedule. And our conversation completely changes next week against Florida when you step back up in class. But when I watch this team come out of the tunnel tomorrow, I think Louisiana Tech is in for a world of hurt. Keep in mind, Nichols was within 2 points midway through the third quarter last year. They couldn't shake the cobwebs. I think LSU is going to just eviscerate Louisiana Tech tomorrow. And that really has no bearing on what they do the rest of the way, because if you beat Louisiana Tech 58-0 or 35-20, it doesn't really matter. It's not significant. But I'm just telling you what I think is going to happen. I think it's going to be an evisceration because I think this team is going to show up focused, disciplined, and give one hell of an effort tomorrow night in a celebratory Tiger Stadium. Like, that's what I think. And we'll see what happens with Florida that next week. And then you've got basically 2 weeks off with Southeastern and an open date before you really get into it. But you played a really good team last week, and they were focused and locked in and ready to play. That defense did not commit a penalty in the game. That defense did not allow a run of 10 yards in the game. They were not gashed for big plays at any point. The offense stuck to a plan, running the ball, stuck to a plan with a short passing game. I thought the execution was very, very good. They missed a field goal. You fumbled on a poor coach's decision to go for it on fourth down. It wasn't perfect, but it was really good. And there's just a lot of really good vibes coming out of that football program right now. And I probably wouldn't spend a segment to start the show talking about that if I really needed to dive into, well, how does LSU block this guy on Saturday night? Or, man, what a quarterback this guy is. How do they deal with him in this way? What do they do with Harold Perkins? You think you can stop this type of receiver who's got this body set? Like, that's what I will generally be talking about on Fridays. It doesn't apply this week because Louisiana Tech's completely overmatched. My big takeaway from this week, and a lot of it had to do with being in that room interviewing the players on Wednesday night, which I wrote about at LouisianaSports.net. There's a real unified message and delivery from this team that is mature, that is focused, and we already know just how good the talent is, and I believe in that coaching staff as well. I think LSU's on to something this year. I really do. And you can call that prisoner moment because they just beat Clemson. Call that, a deflection because they're facing Louisiana Tech and you're not breaking down that game. I'm just telling you how I feel. And half the time I get accused of being a homer. Half the time I get told that I try to be too pessimistic. I just call it like I see it. And I see this team being pretty damn good. They got a really hard schedule. And you never know over the course of a season what breaks you get, what injuries crop up. You're not going to be completely healthy the whole time, and they got a long way to go. Saturday is going to be a lot of fun. Campus is going to be fun. The stadium's going to have some buzz to it because of the win last week. The team's going to take the field with the Golden Band from Tigerland out there, and I think LSU is going to really come out and play a great football game against Louisiana Tech. And then you move on to conference play next week, and it's going to be one heck of an environment inside Tiger Stadium for Florida. That's, to me, the big narrative from this week. I wanted to lead the show with that. We still got something to talk about. Like, I'm going to talk to Preston about this game coming up, what he's planning on seeing. I've got some things actually on the field that I would like to see in this game. We've got to talk about the Saints and Cardinals as well. So lots and lots to do. Lock us in on this Friday edition, brought to you by Corks.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is that website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. David told me in our last meeting last week, like, hey, a lot of the houses that I'm seeing right now are between 20 and 30 years old. If that's the case for you, whether you built that home or you moved into it recently, if that's the age, that's when a lot of times bathrooms start to get dated and start to lack functionality. You see bathtubs start to leak or things start to build up. You see some rust or things that just over time get to a point where you probably need to do something about it. And if you see that going on at your home, in your bathroom, David is happy to take a look. Just because you call David doesn't mean you're in for X amount of dollars. The consultation's free. David can come in, give you his expert opinion. He's been doing this for 3 decades and tell you what he thinks should be done. And then he'll give you some options. You sit down with him and you plan out how you want it done. They're going to do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. Don't just call the guy down the street to come in and try to patch it up. Call the company with 30 years of experience, that's licensed, bonded, and insured to take care of your bathroom. That's what One Bath and Closets can do for you. Check out their work at OneBathAndClosets.com. It's David Duvall and One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
Huge shout out to our winners of some Flight by Yingling on this Football Friday. David Bailey, Jeff Morgan, and Al DeLuca going to be drinking some Flight by Yingling this weekend. I don't really care where you drink it. My preference would be that it would be on campus, because I hope you're going to be out there tailgating, getting ready for LSU and Louisiana Tech. If you're not, that's okay too. They go down just as smooth at the house or at somebody else's house if you want to make that happen. But enjoy that Flight by Yingling, the next generation of light beer. Congratulations to y'all for winning. NFL tiers coming up in 15 minutes. We'll talk Saints. Chase Young was not at practice today. I think that's a big deal on Sunday. I will tell you before we get into Saints preview, which is a little later in the show, I give the Saints a chance to win on Sunday for sure. There are going to be some games where I look at it and go, they cannot win that game, even though it's the National Football League and you say the end of given Sunday and all that kind of stuff. There are some games I like. They're not going to win that game. This is not one of those. I think they could beat the Cardinals. Without Chase Young, though, that's a big deal. I could make the case he's the best player on the team. I don't know if I would try to make that case, but I could. So without him, I don't love that odds on Sunday. Let's talk some LSU. Preston Guy, TigerBait.com, joins us here on this Friday. Preston, how are you, sir?
All right, how's it going?
It's really good. We won a game last weekend. I like that. I sometimes I have an idea of what we want to talk about here, and sometimes I just kind of want to let you direct the flow of it, and we'll do that. So I'll leave it very open-ended. What'd you learn last Saturday in Clemson?
Well, my overall takeaway is, hey, buckle up. I don't know exactly what's going to happen this season, but I do think this is going to be a special season to remember. That defense is much better than we could have expected, and I think the offense performed well despite getting beat in the trenches. I think they called a good game plan, and they should have won comfortably in that game. And the fact that LSU comes away with a top 5 road win, and you're still looking at the team and saying, they didn't win by as much as they should have. I think that's pretty indicative of what a talented roster you have. So, I liken this win. There's only a handful of wins, early season major wins, that I can compare this to. And, you go back to 2003 Georgia. That was a huge win early in the season. 2007 Virginia Tech. That one was massive. 2011 Oregon. 2019 Texas. Those are all teams that went on to play in the national championship, and those are the only early season first big game wins that I think that LSU's pulled that matches what they just did this weekend. So that's all I'm going to say. I don't know what happens, but buckle up. Should be fun.
It's an interesting thought. I've not paralleled all those. I think the Oregon one was natural. Of course, I was sitting next to Brandon Taylor doing the post-game show, so that immediately comes to mind. But the other ones, not terrible comps either. You mentioned the game plan. Did they do that because of Clemson's defensive front, or do you think that's the identity of this offense?
Well, I would suspect that it'll be the identity of this offense. First off, they didn't spend a small amount of time installing those plays. In fact, if you go down the list, they had some crazy game plan call. I mean, my goodness, we saw a little bit of it with the Juwan Johnson Wildcat stuff in practice. We didn't even see in this game, by the way. But they're calling reverse wide receiver passes. They're doing motions, which intentional motion, by the way. One of the big differences between this and what Matt Canada was just doing a bunch of motion to cause general confusion. And a lot of offensive guys were sitting there questioning, like, why are you doing that? Because your offensive linemen don't get to sit still and get in their stance and go. Yet they were using it to deceive. They had, receivers go out in motion. Well, then the backer bites on the guy in motion, and Nussmeier checks it down to the guy inside. He's got a bubble screen set up with the backer scraping with his momentum carrying him away. I mean, it was a good game plan. I think there was a few things about the in-game decisions I really didn't like, but that was a good game plan. I don't think that that's a one-off thing. I think they're going to continue to do stuff like that throughout the season, in major part because they know that Clemson won't be the last elite defensive line, and frankly, if you want to win it all, you need to be able to go up against teams that are going to whoop that O-line's butt because I still think that's the weakness of the team, but I think they're calling a game plan to assist with that.
What do you think of the Caden Durham, I use air quotes here, more traditional run game? I know the creativity you liked. What do you think of their just ability to hand it off and go get some yards?
Yeah, well, first off, Caden Durham was doing a lot of the heavy lifting in the running game.
Yes.
I mean, if you look at that big 25-yard run, that's not blocked well. Okay, he breaks a tackle and busts it outside. By the way, on a little bit of film review of that play, Barry and Brown gave up blocking on that play because he thought he was down or, knew the play was going backside. If he even impedes the DB, that's a touchdown. So very frustrating to watch that, but you understand why it happened. It's just football's a funny sport where if you play to the whistle every play, you'll be shocked at how many additional plays you will make based on you projected in your brain that the play was over and you can't do anything, but then some craziness happened. So, Caden Durham, I think he did an excellent job in that game. Hey, don't fumble after you score the touchdown. Hold on to that ball. But thankfully, the plane of the end zone saved him.
All right, let's talk about the defense. What was your favorite part?
The dominance. Is that a good enough answer?
That's a great answer. I liked it too.
Yeah. I mean, look, we haven't seen defense like that. That felt like an early Les Miles era victory. Remember when they would just go out and kick people's ass game one?
Yep.
And it was lights out defense, and the offense was always good enough. I mean, there'd always be a little bit of lunacy here and there, but ultimately you could trust that defense to go out and do its job. That looked every bit like a traditional golden era LSU football team, and that was refreshing.
As far as the defensive backfield go, they had to move a lot of pieces around with the Halsey first half suspension, and then Stamps didn't play. What'd you make of that group in the secondary, and how do you think that group evolves?
I think the fact that Ashton Stamps didn't record a snap, that speaks volume to how much more talent there is on this team, because this is a guy who's been a crucial part of your defense the last 2 years, a guy who came in, and remember, Matt House preseason was just didn't have enough praise to throw at him. They were so excited about his future, and now he finds himself in certain games where he's not good enough to crack a single snap, and that's just it's not even an attack on Ashton Stamps and what he's done. It's just think about how much more talent they've added to this team. It's kind of crazy, but yes, Mansour Delane has looked. I mean, we've been telling y'all every practice in fall camp, he's elite. He's a good tackler. He's great in coverage, and he looked every bit of that in this game. And I think that Halsey was actually better than I expected. When he came back in the second half, he clearly provided a difference. Although Jordan Gilbert and everybody playing that back role, they played serviceable with, the other 10 guys stacked, but Halsey really brought that to a new level. So, the defensive backfield, if I had to pick a weakness on this defense coming into the season, that was where I was going. I'm not so sure I'm going that direction anymore. They're good.
Let's talk about LSU and Louisiana Tech. On the LSU offense, what would you like to see in this game? Could be a reserve in the second half, could be a stylistic thing.
Well, I'm going to tell you this. Other than keeping Nussmeier healthy and, let's go up, 4 or 5 scores and get him the heck out of the game, because his right arm will carry you where you're going to go this season. But what I would like to see is that offensive line dominate a lesser unit, okay? If you can come out and defensive lines that aren't, that crazy unit for Clemson we just saw, and you can go out and easily run the ball for 150 and, bust open wide holes, that's going to help you through this season. You're not going to have to reveal your entire chaos playbook, I guess is what we'll call it, to against lower teams. You don't have to empty the playbook. Just go out there, go get your 4 or 5 yards per carry, just traditionally. That's what I would like to see offensively. Just dominate lesser talented players.
And as far as the defense goes, is there a player or two that you'd like to see get some run here?
Yeah, man, there's a lot of guys I'd like to see, step up. Obviously, I think that Clemson game was tight enough to where you have to keep it pretty vanilla in terms of your rotations and stuff. You have to go with trusted guys. But I'm thinking guys like DJ Pickett, I'd like to see him get more than 25 snaps. I'd like to see maybe a little bit more rotation on that defensive line, maybe more Gabriel Relaford, who's had such a strong offseason. It looked like he was going to be the starter, but, he really rotated in and out a lot. It was a quiet night for him. So really that whole second-team defense, I would like to see them rotate in. CJ Jim Foyley is a guy who I think's got a lot of talent. I would love to see him go out there and see what he can do. Let's see if you can get some reserves and work in depth Not necessarily like you bench your whole first-team defense in the second half, and now you've got garbage reps. So what I'm talking about is in the first half when the game's competitive, can you rotate more bodies in while it's a competitive game and develop some of this depth? It looks pretty talented. It looks pretty darn talented, but I'd like to see them actually get on the field with more bodies than they did Clemson.
Feels like it could be a good fall for those of us in the LSU content game. Tell everybody where they can find some of yours when they're looking.
Yep, just go to tigerbait.com, guys. We're posting everything we do. If y'all want to just keep up with my little anecdotes and short little stuff, y'all can follow me on Twitter, pguy77, and we'll put all our content there. That's where you can get us.
We'll see you in the press box on Saturday night. Thanks, Preston.
All right, see you, Hunt.
Preston Guy, tigerbait.com with us on Fridays. Our Friday shows brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp. I know a lot of y'all headed out to campus. Corks happy to help you cater that tailgate. But if you're having a group just at home in the air conditioning to watch some football on Saturday, you want to feed the masses. Corks, always great with their tailgating. Big trays, that jumbo Gulf shrimp, crispy fried catfish, shoestring fries. They got you covered with the hush puppies. The slaw can handle you on the honey butter rolls as well. And all the Corks sauces that come with it. They got your cocktail sauce, tartar sauce. I love the Corks sauce, ketchup as well. They got you covered. CorksFishandShrimp.com is where you can find the menu. We will step aside, get you ready for week 1 in the National Football League next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Swing Easy Golf Club, Baton Rouge. SwingEasyGCBR.com. Brand new here in Baton Rouge. Segan at Perkins. Get a membership. Gives you a place that you know you can go, reserve a bay, work on your game, or just have some fun. It's there to socialize, drink a cold beer, grab a glass of wine, and work on your golf game, or play one of the famous courses from around the world on that simulator. Bring in some friends, watch some football. Those memberships are affordable, under $200 a month. You can get a corporate membership or a personal one. Socialize, as I mentioned, work on your game. It's all there at Swing Easy Golf Club, Perkins at Segan. You know that the elements can be tough around here in Baton Rouge. It can be very, very hot. It rains every afternoon in the summer. It can in the winter get very, very cold. It gets dark very early. Can't go after work and hit golf balls. None of that matters at Swing Easy Golf Club because it's indoors and you can handle your business there right there on the simulator. I just invite you to go on by and try it out. Go by and see what they're about at Swing Easy Golf Club. You don't have to be a member to go in. Book a tee time online. SwingEasyGCBR.com. Swing Easy Golf Club right here in Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
Have a streak longer than any team in the National Football League, and it's a positive one. We'll talk about it coming up in about 12 minutes as we close out hour number 1. Saints-Cardinals Sunday from the Dome. Noon kickoff as the black and gold get the Kellen Moore era underway. A lot of other NFL action that actually started last night in Philly and went late into the night, way past when I went to sleep. They were still in a lightning delay when I hit the pillow. But we got a whole weekend to get you ready for. Let's do it the way we do every single Friday with our tier list. Tier 4. All right, this is the bottom of the food chain. Only 2 games. There's a lot of good games this weekend. These 2 do not qualify. Panthers are at the Jaguars. The Jags have lost 6 straight games in September. Panthers were the worst run defense in the NFL last year. Seems like Etienne and Tank Bigsby could get going for the Jags. I don't expect much out of the Panthers this year. And then the Raiders at the Patriots in Tier 4. Will Campbell's debut for the Pats. That's the local angle here. The Patriots are favored for the first time in 17 games. That's the longest current streak in the National Football League. Let's move up to Tier 3. Dolphins are at the Colts. Tyreek Hill and Devon Achane are expected to play for the Dolphins. The tight ends killed Miami last year. This is Tyler Warren's debut there in Indianapolis, so we'll see how that goes. The Colts, 2-12-1 against the spread in week 1 over the last 15 years. I don't know if that's applicable year to year, but it's a horrendous trend for the Colts, so bet the Dolphins if you're looking to keep on that. Steelers are at the Jets. Can we call it a Rodgers Bowl? How about the Fields Bowl? All I know is it's the first matchup of quarterbacks who played for the other team last year in the history of the National Football League with those two quarterbacks going head-to-head. The Giants are at the Commanders in NFC East showdown. Start number 200 for Russell Wilson. He's the 16th quarterback all-time to do that. Washington won the two games between those two teams last year by a total of 8 points. Do you think they can continue to win those tight games? I hope so, because I'm pulling for Jaden, but they got to get things off to a good start at home against the Giants. And then the Titans at the Broncos. Number one quarterbacks overall, like Cam Ward, 4-15-1 in season openers as rookies since 1967. Might not be great for Cam Ward against Pat Surtain and company there on the Mile High City. That's Tier 3. Here's the good stuff. Tier 2. Bengals are at the Browns. Myles Garrett has 10 sacks against Joe Burrow in his career. That's the most he's sacked anybody, the most Joe Burrow has been sacked by anybody. He's also hit Joe 20 times over the years. The Bengals, 1-11 in weeks 1 and 2 since 2019. That has to stop. I know it's on the road, but it's the Browns. They've got to find a way to win an opener.
It doesn't have to stop, hon. It can continue.
It needs to stop. It must stop.
It might not.
It's imperative that it stops. I have no other way to say it. Bucs are at the Falcons, NFC South showdown. Tampa will not have left tackle Tristan Wirfs, will not have top two wide receivers in Godwin and McMillan. And Atlanta's won 4 of 5 against Tampa. Can the Falcons get off to a hot start in week 1 in the division? 49ers are at the Seahawks. San Francisco just 6-11 last year. Sam Darnold brought in to make his Seahawks debut here. Christian McCaffrey, questionable, had a calf issue crop up this week. That happens all the time to him. We'll see if the 49ers can right the ship here, but they got to do it on the road at Seattle. And then Texans at Rams. I like this game a lot. Texans' offensive line is really completely retooled. They've got a rookie starting, and the Rams' front four is elite. So we'll see. Matt Stafford, bad back. Got a disc issue, but it's his 16th consecutive opening start, which is pretty impressive. We'll see how healthy he is at home against the Texans. I have both those teams in the playoffs. And then Tier 1, I've got 3 games in Tier 1 this weekend, a couple of them in prime time, starting tonight with the Chiefs and the Chargers. Patrick Mahomes, 82.6% winning percentage in September. That is second all-time to Roger Staubach among starting quarterbacks in the NFL. The Chargers last year, new coaching staff, you might have heard of them, 13-4 against the spread. They're really, really coaching that team well, and I think the Chargers make a leap this year. They may win tonight. The Lions are at the Packers. That's a good one. Shout out Kelvin Shepard, former Tiger. He makes his defensive coordinator debut for the Lions, who are replacing both coordinators. Jordan Love did not throw an interception in his last 7 games last year. I got the Packers in the Super Bowl this year. We'll see how they get off to a good start in the division. And then the Ravens and the Bills in prime time. The Bills beat the Ravens in the divisional round last year. Lamar Jackson turned the ball over 3 times in that game. When he turns the ball over twice, the Ravens are 1-6 in his tenure as a starting quarterback. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, first and second in the MVP voting last year. The last time first and second in the MVP voting from a year prior met in the opener, well, it hadn't happened since 1970 at least. So that is your look at the National Football League. Going to be a good weekend of NFL football. Nothing highlighted by Ravens, Bills, Lions, Packers, and Chiefs, Chargers. Those are all monster matchups.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, it's really a shame that Cowboys and Eagles game looked like it was going to turn out to be a good one, and then they had the weather came out, and then the fourth quarter was just a total disaster. They were punting back and forth to each other. Not a great. I was listening to live at lunch earlier. Max had the over on that one, and they had 40-something points in the first half, and then 3 in the second half. Not great, but yeah, there's a lot of good ones. And I really
speaking of that, there's a lot of reasons, but there are plenty of apparent ones why I don't bet money on sports.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Things like that, yeah.
You had 40 points through 2.5 quarters, and you can't get the last 10.
Nope, can't get it. But yeah, the Bengals and Browns. Yeah, I don't think
surely
they can
beat the Browns.
They're 5.5 points favorite. That's a pretty big number.
It's a huge number, but they never beat anybody. The Patriots beat them last year.
Yeah, they
in Cincinnati.
They can't beat anybody in the first 3 weeks.
My survivor pick lasted 3.5 hours.
Not good.
I don't understand. We'll see. Like Joe, if they win in this game, and I don't know who they're playing next week. If they win next week, he's going to have to play every preseason game his whole career.
Well, I wonder what because obviously their record has been so poor since he got there in the first 3 weeks.
1-11.
But I wonder
weeks
what.
1 and 2.
And I'm guessing his stats are probably not very good for that either.
No, he turned it over a bunch. They had a Cowboys loss in there, just an ugly a Browns loss that was awful. The Patriots last year, I recall some of it, not all of it. I know that one of the years they played the Ravens, which is going to be a tough game to win no matter what. But it's just, you got to Cleveland's the only bad team in that division. So you need to take advantage of it. It's just a bit of an issue when your offensive line is your biggest question mark and Myles Garrett's on the other team.
Yeah, 2022 is they lost to Pittsburgh in overtime and then Dallas the next.
And
week.
that was a heinous Pittsburgh loss.
Yeah, it was really bad.
Yeah, it was terrible. That's ridiculous. All right, let's talk Saints and Cardinals. Stick with the NFL theme to close out hour number 1 coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com is the website. Jonathan Carver and his team, phenomenal folks to work with in the insurance game. Y'all know I did it for 7 years, so I can still speak the language a little bit. They're experts. They know what they're doing at the Highland Insurance Group. So if you're looking to make a phone call for your commercial insurance, say, hey, I need you to save me 18% at renewal, this is probably not the phone call to make because they can't just snap their fingers and find a cheap policy. What they can do is make sure that when you spend your business's money to buy an insurance program, no matter what it is that you do, that it's the proper insurance program placed with the proper market that's going to respond properly when something happens. Because the reason you buy insurance is not to make sure it's the cheapest at renewal. The reason you buy it is when something bad happens that can derail you from a budget perspective, that doesn't happen because the insurance policy is there to help. You don't know when that car accident's coming. You don't know when somebody's going to hack into your system and freeze it from a cyber perspective. You don't know when there's a lawsuit that's coming or a hurricane that just shows up. And when that does happen, it's good to know that you got a great insurance program. And the Highland Insurance Group will help you do that. Call Jonathan and his team. Or check them out online, HighlandIG.com. It's the Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
Friday show is brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Swing on by and get a late lunch there. They're on Government between Foster and Jefferson looking for a po' boy. They got a killer shrimp po' boy. Knock your socks off over there at Corks. You can eat in that newly renovated dining room or get on by the drive-thru. They're happy to have you over there at Corks. Check out the whole menu, corksfishandshrimp.com. Black and gold, time to play some football. Saints and Cardinals, noon on Sunday in the season opener, and I didn't realize this. I mean, obviously, I was aware of the occurrence because I'm covering the team here, but I didn't put this together. The Saints have won 6 straight season openers. That's the longest active streak in the National Football League.
They're the bizarro LSU.
Yeah, like LSU can't win a season opener. The Saints win every year. They've won 6 in a row. No NFC team has had a longer streak than this current Saints streak since the 84 to 92 Bears. That includes the 85 Bears, maybe the greatest team in the history of the NFL. You can listen to the Patriots, who just lost in the Super Bowl. You can listen to the Dolphins that went undefeated, but you can make the case the 85 Bears is the greatest team in league history, and that era of Bears football is the only NFC team that's won more season openers. So we'll see if the Saints can continue that streak at home against the Cardinals. And I don't think the Cardinals are going to be great. Like, Kyler Murray's just been a meh quarterback. Marvin Harrison had a mediocre rookie year, especially compared to like the 2 guys from LSU that went out and had monster seasons. And you look at the line, like it would indicate that the Cardinals are a significant favorite. You're looking at a 6.5-point number right now across all the lines that I'm looking at. I give the Saints a fighting chance to stay competitive and to win this game. This is a wrench that is thrown into that, though. Chase Young did not practice again on Friday. And he wasn't there. And if you don't practice on Friday, your odds of playing on Sunday are not very good. And that is a difference maker on this Saints team that is kind of lacking difference makers. Like, Alvin Kamara is a heck of a player. Are we going to call him a difference maker at this point in his career? I don't know. Behind that offensive line, probably not. You don't have one at quarterback right now. Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed are nice wide receivers. Are you going to put them in the S tier of NFL playmakers? Probably not. Juwan Johnson at tight end. Demario Davis is such a good player. Is he a true difference maker at inside linebacker? You don't have a true number 1 corner right now. Safety, looks okay with your two additions there. But like Chase Young at his best can wreck a game. Chase Young at his best might be the best player you've got on your team. So his potential unavailability is concerning. It sounds like Alontae Taylor is going to play. He did return to practice on Wednesday. He's missed several weeks with that groin injury. But I think he's going to play, and I expect Alontae Taylor to have a really nice season. It'd be good to see him out there, and I think Kool-Aid McKinstry could evolve into a star. And I think the Saints have the guys on the outside to hang around. And then you look at the interior, like I like Devon Godshaw. I like Brian Brzee. I think Carl Granderson has more in the tank than he showed last year. And I think the Saints can hold up on the defensive side of things, but I'd really like him with Chase Young. And without him, it feels like Kyler Murray's going to have a little bit more time to improvise and make some things happen the way that he does. So I don't expect the Cardinals to come out and score a ton of points in this game, but I would like the Saints defense a lot better if Chase Young were out there. Now you flip it over to the biggest unknown here, and that's the Saints offense. We were excited for different reasons to watch the preseason. Like, what does this look like? Who's going to be the quarterback? But as Kellen Moore said on our airwaves with Jake Hester and Matt Flynn, like, pretty vanilla in the preseason. And you saw that. There was not a lot of meat on that bone for us to analyze in the preseason. Well, the gloves come off in this game. I expect the offense to look different. Now, whether or not it's productive, that remains to be seen. Spencer Rattler did almost nothing to inspire a lot of hope last year because he had almost nothing to work with. No offensive line, no playmakers at wide receiver, banged up running back. There was nothing there for him to do anything with, and that should be a little bit better this time around. Your offensive line is relatively healthy, Penning not withholding, and then you've got Kamara healthy, Olave and Shaheed healthy, Juwan Johnson healthy, no Taysom Hill, no Foster Moreau, but like relatively solid cast of characters around him, and they ought to open up the playbook here. This is one where you got to go out and kind of pull out a lot of stops to try to win this game, because this is one of the more winnable games on your schedule in my estimation. So this should look different. Whether or not it functions differently, we'll just have to see. This offense is doomed if they cannot win at the point of attack. And in the preseason, they were terrible up front. Like, the tackles, when they were out there, which wasn't a ton, held their own, did a solid job. The interior stunk. Now, Radens is likely to play in at left guard, and then you're going to have a full game of McCoy, which certainly helps. Ruiz has to play better. If those guys fail, this whole operation is toast. If those guys play well and allow Kamara a little bit of space and allow Kendre Miller a little bit of space and allow Rattler a little bit of time, maybe you can see them move the football a little bit on this Cardinals defense that is okay. I think the Cardinals are a league average team. I don't think they're anywhere close to the fifth best team in the league. I don't think they're that close to the 25th, 26th best team in the league. I think they're closer to 15, 16, 17, 18. So this is an opportunity on your home field to see how you stack up against the middle of the league. And I'm curious to see it. I give the Saints a real chance to stick close in this game. Rattler cannot turn the ball over. And then you got to hope that the defense can contain Kyler Murray from running around a little bit. I'll give you my pick at the end of the show today. But I will tell you that I think this game is close with 10 minutes to go. Now, I probably trust Kyler Murray to make plays at that point and to do the right thing more than I trust Spencer Rattler, who's not had a lot of experience in that moment. But I think that you got a shot with a home crowd and some playmakers. Hopefully there's a little bit more opportunity to put the ball down the field for the Saints, and hopefully they can keep this thing close and find a way to win it. The crowd may not be full throat. You look at the secondary markets, it's not super inspiring, but it's one of the games the Saints can win. And what a great relief that would be to get one early here for the Saints. It would be awesome. So, again, a pick at the end of the show. Excited for the Saints to get going. Very curious to see how Spencer Rattler looks in an offense that we have not seen. Make no mistake, we have not seen Kellen Moore's offense here. But the offensive line is absolutely and unequivocally the key to this game, because if they can't protect up front and they can't get push up front a little bit in the ground game, this thing is absolutely toast, because the Saints don't have the guys on the outside of the quarterback who's going to be able to make things happen from that perspective. For those asking about a potential quarterback change at some point on Sunday, no. This is Spencer Rattler's game, barring an injury. I don't think he can play poorly enough to pull the plug after 3 quarters, especially when Kellen Moore said, no, there's no musical chairs here, like Spencer's our quarterback. Now, I expect that to change in October, November. But for Sunday in the Dome, week 1 against the Cardinals, Spencer Rattler's game. Rock and roll, lights are coming on for the Hoodats. Noon on Sunday. Hopefully they can get off to a good start. Ross Jackson's all over the New Orleans Saints, LouisianaSports.net. If you're looking for injury reports and preview of this game coming up on Sunday, he's got it. It's all right there for free. If you're looking for my Saints content, Hunt on Saints is where you can find it. Hunt on Saints, wherever you find your pods, or on YouTube as well. Busy first hour. Talked about LSU's focus and my feeling on this team at the top of the show, and Preston guy kind of echoed that in our second segment. You can find all that on demand wherever you find your sound. Hunt on LSU is where all my LSU content lives. So we opened the show with that and got you ready for the NFL weekend to come with our NFL tier list. Busy hour number 2. Very much looking forward to it. I'm going to give you my thoughts on what LSU needs to do in this game on Saturday, regardless of competition. Some things I want to see, some players I'm interested in seeing, have some take it or leave it, and my final picks for LSU and Tech, as well as the Saints and Cardinals. When we come back, after SportsCenter's national headlines, SEC picks against the spread. Not the sexiest slate of matchups, but I'll give you some picks against the number. Coming up after SportsCenter, Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge, genesisofbatonrouge.com is that website. I think a lot of summer vacations are in the rearview mirror. School's very much in, and maybe your long-distance drives are done for 2025. But if they're not, or you're going on a road trip to an LSU football game coming up in the coming weeks, don't want to put those miles in your car, or you just like to see how a Genesis drives, they will rent a vehicle to you. If you've never really explored that option, something that sounds new and fun to you, go check them out. Their airline at PQ happy to get you in a rental so that you can experience that Genesis difference behind the wheel. It's a great way to introduce yourself to a vehicle while not putting excess miles on yours. And then at that point, by the time it's time for a new one, you'll know where to go. That's, of course, Genesis of Baton Rouge. The entire inventory, all of it, is online at genesisofbatonrouge.com. You can get by and see them. Airline at PQ across from Women's Hospital. Genesis of Baton Rouge online, genesisofbatonrouge.com.